So the poem I am doing for my presentation is called The Truth by James Tate. And here we go. Mitzi fell asleep as soon as we got home, but I didn't. The evening had upset me. Why did Jack keep asking me if I'd been married before? And why did my answer not satisfy him? It was probably just a bad joke. Jack's humor is off sometimes, but he's not a bad guy. Well, then I went to bed. When we woke up in the morning, Mitzi said, Jack was right about you, wasn't he? What do you mean? I said. Jack said you were kicked out of the army, she said. I was never in the army. How could I be kicked out? I said. I don't think he likes me. Oh, I think Jack likes you a lot. He just wishes you were more interesting, she said. And by making me secretly divorced and secretly kicked out of the army, I'm instantly more interesting. Is that it? I said. According to Jack, you are, she said. I think we'd better have breakfast, I said. Good idea, she said. During breakfast, I said, Don't you think I'm interesting? Of course I do, honey, she said. Let's forget it. I mean, Jack is an old friend. Maybe he was just drunk, I said. That's probably it, she said. What are you going to do today? I asked. I'm thinking of buying a new dress for the wedding, she said. What wedding? I said. You know, Carol and Bob's wedding, next Saturday, she said. Oh God, I forgot all about it, I said. How could you forget? Bob's your best friend, she said. I know, I just had my mind on other things, but now I'll focus on their wedding, I promise, I said. Shortly after that, Mitzi left the house. I cleaned up the breakfast dishes, then sat down on the couch. Why had Jack told the two secrets I had told him years ago? I had sworn him to silence, and now everybody knew. I had told him I would kill him if he ever told anybody. I wasn't going to kill him, but I did think about disappearing, just vanishing altogether. Where would I go? What would I do? And I do love Mitzi. I could tell her the truth. I've had 18 years to do that, not a squeak so far. So, the first thing that sort of I want to talk about with this poem is obviously sort of the twist ending, um, in which we see that the narrator actually did do the things that their old friend Jack asserted they did, which was they were in a previous marriage that ended in divorce, and they were in the army and got kicked out. So um, I thought that was super interesting because, like, when we read the poem the first time, it's we're sort of going along and thinking like, this Jack guy, like, who is he? Like, what's his deal? Why is he talking about the narrator in this way? And we get to the end and you realize like, oh no, the narrator's we have an unreliable narrator essentially. And so that was the first thing that sort of struck me. And it makes the narrator like it gives a level of depth to our narrator that we didn't otherwise have. Um, Along those same lines, the next thing I wanted to discuss was the stunted writing style. So as I read it, it's very jumpy. Um, and what I mean by that is like we see a lot of these like dialogue tags with I said, I said, um, she said, like on and on and on. It's just line of dialogue, I said, line of dialogue, she said. It does that the entire poem. And so the way uh, I sort of read that was I think it's intentionally simplistic because throughout the entire poem, the narrator is concerned with um, Jack thinking he's interesting, his partner thinking he's interesting, um, and so these lines, this dialogue is not particularly interestingly written. Um, it's very uh, stunted, disjointed, stuff like that, and so I think that's sort of the effect that it at least had on me. I that might be the effect the author or the narrator was going for. But I think that's what the sort of dialogue and its style does for the poem. Um, and again, talking about the idea of don't you think I'm interesting? Like there's sort of a hint of desperation that I got with that. It's the narrator is simultaneously concerned with being interesting. He wants people to think he's interesting, um, but by the same token, like he's very much concerned with Jack not revealing the things that supposedly make him interesting, the divorce in the army. Um, so I'm not sure what to make of that. Like it's sort of creating a lot of tension in the story or the poem, I suppose. Um, and I think it does ultimately achieve the effect the narrator wants, is that it makes him interesting. Like this guy has a secret, and so um, I think that's sort of the effect that's being created here. Is just we don't know virtually anything about our narrator except what we have learned with the twist ending. Um, so I thought that was really cool. That was something I enjoyed. Next, let's see. So this sort of last few lines here, I had told him I would kill him if he ever told anybody. I wasn't going to kill him, but I did think about disappearing. This is really like extreme, I think. The fact that the narrator asserts that they would like kill Jack if Jack ever told anybody about his divorce and his army time. And so that again sort of creates this mystery of like, what did he do? Why is this so bad? Like normal people are in the army, normal people get divorced. Um, and so I think that's a line that I thought was particularly interesting. It's very telling that Jack or that the narrator told Jack that he would kill him and would resort to extreme violence. Um, and this line here was something that I was particularly drawn to was, and I do love Mitzi. Nobody asserted that he didn't love Mitzi in the poem. And it makes me wonder like why you feel the need to say, and I do love her. It's sort of a he doth protest too much sort of thing. Like nobody said he doesn't, but doesn't love his I assume partner. Um, and so but in conjunction with this, I've had 18 years to tell her these pretty basic truths um, about him, sort of make me interested in him as a narrator. So those were the things I found were interesting that I was drawn to in the poem. And yeah, I think that's it.